Your belly's dirty. Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. And as you can see here, we have got our hands full on today's video. This claw is all sorts of twisted. If we look at it from this angle, you can see we've got a lot of growth toward the inside of that claw. And if we take an underside look at this, it's not just that medial claw that's overgrown. We've got to do some correction on that lateral claw as well. So let's get started. This is one of those trims where that spent mixing tip is going to really come in handy. Give us a little bit of working room between those claws that are kind of pinched together. First, I'm going to use my knife and I'm going to remove some of these bigger chunks. You can see where that lack of wear and that excess growth is on that inner part of the foot. That's where I'm going to do a lot of the trimming on this claw. So I'm going to start with a knife. As I get some of that pared away, then I will switch to my grinder. Notice as I'm trimming this claw, I'm taking most of that material from the inner portion of that foot, not from the outside edge. That wall height is about right, but it's this inner side where we're not getting enough wear, that we've got an accumulation of horn. That extra wear is on that outside wall edge. That's about where I'm going to have it at the end of this trim. But this inner portion, that's what I'm going to remove to bring this foot back into balance. It really doesn't take long for this claw to start to take shape again. Now you got to be careful when you're trimming these because the lines in the foot aren't always necessarily as clear cut and as defined as they are in a normal foot. Just from that rotation, that can be skewed. So we have to take off little bits at a time. You're going to notice that throughout this trim. I'm not just going at it willy-nilly. I'm taking off a little bit, making sure my balance is correct, and I'm just working my way to that spot where I want to get, where I can get these two claws to work again as they're supposed to. Now this next cut that I'm going to make in between the claws here, right now as I turn my grinder, I would not do that on any normal foot. You don't want to remove that inside wall on a normal foot, that axial wall. That's a structural part of the foot. However, in this case, because that rotation's there, that axial wall has caused a little bit of a flare on the bottom of that. That flare is going to end up creating leverage and keeping that continuing to happen, that flare in that. So what I'm going to do when I go in between the claws like this, I'm just straightening up to make that axial wall straight up and down again so we don't have that leverage causing that flare. You're going to notice on this claw as well some redness sprinkled in throughout that hoof horn, and that's from that corium being inflamed on the inside of the foot from that rotation. Because the pressures aren't being applied the way they're supposed to, that's causing some irritation in there, and that's why that's deposited then in that hoof horn. Another thing you'll notice with this trim is I'm doing a much deeper model on this medial claw than I typically would. And that's just because I want to make sure that I remove enough horn there that that horn doesn't hinder this foot from rotating back into place when it becomes in contact with the ground. So if you look at the heel depth on this lateral claw, notice the heel depth there, but then look at the medial claw, how narrow or how thin down that is. You've got to say, well, that's not right. But if we look at this outside wall, we've got good heel depth on that outside edge, which is exactly what we want. Take a look at this lateral, same thing here. That's that balance. What's going to happen when we put this foot down is we're going to get this claw to rotate back into position. If I had a bunch of hoof horn there, that would hinder that and it wouldn't be able to happen. So I've removed that. These outside edges now are going to be balanced up, which is just what we want. Remember back to the beginning? This is what it looked like, and this is what it looks like now. We can all agree she's going to be much more comfortable. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.